Huge news. After 6 years, more than 6 years, just over 6 years, something like that, we're finally getting the first true full battlecruiser line of World of Warships. There's been a couple of individual battlecruisers, but we have never had a dedicated battlecruiser line in World of Warships, and that means that a large number of very significant historical ships, particularly the core of the German Navy and the British Navy, the Royal Navy during the First World War, has basically been absent from the game, but we're getting German battlecruisers. As a matter of fact, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you can go to Prime Gaming and you can get this ship that I'm playing right here, SMS Moltke, as a Prime Gaming reward. So if you have Prime Gaming, go out and get it. It'll be added to your port in game, and you can play with this very first battlecruiser, or the first dedicated battlecruiser line, to your heart's content. Battlecruisers had a very specific design. They were supposed to be faster than anything that had guns big enough to sink them, and they were supposed to have guns big enough to sink anything that was faster than them. Basically, the way that this works out is run from battleships and sink cruisers and destroyers. So it'll be interesting to see here how the full line is implemented, but actually SMS Moltke, as it's put into the game, feels about right. It does almost 30 knots with the speed flag, 29.8, has very low concealment, 9.8 kilometers. The guns don't really tremendously punish similar to your dreadnought battleships, and your armor scheme isn't really good enough to tank similar to your dreadnought battleships. However, cruisers and below, yeah, you smash them in this ship, and the speed and the low concealment allows you to move around the map, have a lot of map influence, and generally just a different way to play capital ships, particularly with these low tiers. It's super fun. I really like how they implemented it. It feels like playing a battlecruiser. Moltke's an interesting ship because she was the first of the first line of true battlecruisers built for the German Navy. She served as part of Admiral Franz von Hipper's Erste Aufklärungsgruppe, or the first scouting group, which was a major contributor to almost every naval battle during the First World War that you've heard of, so Dogger Bank, Jutland, etc. Moltke survived the war, was damaged pretty badly at Jutland, but was repaired, survived the war, was interned at Scapa Flow, and was sunk by her crew, or scuttled by her crew in 1919, like much of the German High Seas Fleet was during that single individual night where they tried to prevent the Royal Navy from taking over the ships. It's an interesting ship. I really like how it's implemented in World of Warships. So you can see here in this game here, I'm using my speed to go ahead and get map influence early on. So 30 knots is very fast. This is destroyer speed at this tier. Destroyer speed, but at a ship that has actual armor and a bunch of guns and can do some serious damage. So I'm going ahead and I'm pushing to the A cap here, and the idea is that I'm going to try to drag my team, low tier players, a lot of them not very experienced, a little maybe will shy away for the cap to try not to get torpedoed and sunk or surprised, right? People are just learning how to stay alive and how to play objectives at this tier. So I'm going to go ahead and take my armor. It's not a lot, but it's still more armor than most ships at tier 4 have. I'm going to take my speed, which is tremendous. I'm going to take my very low concealment, and I'm going to get myself right into the cap here. Now, only way I'm able to do this is because the two carriers, and there's almost always two carriers at tier 4 games, because the two carriers are occupied on the other side of the map. If I had seen that they were sending planes to this side, I would have had to play a little bit more cautiously, because since there's no planes coming, absolutely, let's take advantage of the speed here. And it's not just the speed, though. It's the speed combined with the concealment. Congo is fast, for example, but Congo has very high concealment, and it's very difficult to use the speed to sneak up on people. In this case, you see I've been able to get into the cap completely undetected, take advantage of the speed in a way that just nothing else that low tiers is able to do, basically. This is a really poor shot here. I'm not quite sure where I was aiming at. We're going to go ahead and chuck that up to poor aim. It's important to keep in mind the German capital ships now have the same dispersion values as the American or British capital ships. So the idea of like drunk German gunners like Hans is in the schnapps again and can't shoot straight isn't really applicable. These guns work just fine in terms of accuracy, as just fine as any tier 4 capital ships guns do, which means they're a bit wonky, but no more wonky than anybody else's. And I assume that'll be pretty consistent all the way up to the rest of the line as well. And this is the part where the hilariously low concealment value comes in. I'm sitting here in the cap. I'm still undetected. This means that I can angle myself, position myself where I want to be, so that I can defend myself once I become detected, but more importantly, I'm just going to be able to go ahead and solo cap this cap, get myself and my team early cap advantage. There's only one destroyer on each team, so He's busy off on a different cap, doing whatever destroyers do, running around torpedoing things, and it's important that we have map control. It's important that we take advantage of this unbelievable concealment that I have, the speed, the ability to get in place, and boom, there you go. A solo cap and a battleship to start the game. And that's not the first time, and it wasn't the last time that I did it while putting together content for this video and playing Moltke. It's actually crazy how much you're able to use the speed and the concealment combined to get really early map control. It's fantastic. You can also flank outside to the edge of the cap. You can do a number of things with it that's quite a lot of fun. So if you're an experienced capital ship player, I think you'll probably quite enjoy having the flexibility. It's a little bit like the high-tier French battleships, except with better concealment, cruiser level concealment, which is it's pretty nuts. It's pretty fun, actually. I really, really like how they've implemented this. The other advantage here now, I've been detected because I fired, and I need to get out of dodge. So low tier battleships like absolutely struggle so badly to get themselves out of bad situations because they're so slow. Moltke does not struggle getting itself out of bad situations, as long as you don't pin yourself up against the edge of the map or something like that. So in this case, I was already angled away, exit through the back of the cap, reposition myself. I'm able to create a crossfire with the ships on the opposite side of the cap, because with my speed, I'm able to cover large distances pretty quickly, reposition myself. This more cruiser's just broadside, chugging along. It's a protected cruiser. These are really, really the top prey for battlecruisers. A lot of Charlestons and Bogateers and similar ships got wrecked during the production of this video. But there you go, one ship down, repositioned, and I'm looking here at the mini-map. Everybody is pushed to the edge of the north edge of the map here outside of A, and there's one lone Kawachi sitting at B. Probably time to push him. We have the speed, we have the ability to close, so the closer you get to enemy capital ships, the more useful your guns are. So at long range, you're not going to do a ton of damage. At closer range, as you get closer and closer, aim for the upper belts, and you start to have less struggles because of the low penetration values for your guns. Smack him in the upper belt here. This Kawachi is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I'm closing down from him from the starboard side, and he's got a couple of other battleships in front of him as well. And being a dreadnought, he is absolutely unable to get himself out of the way. So this guy's basically dead here. So what's important is I need to recognize I have poor armor, keep myself angled. Proper battleship guns would really hurt me. Keep myself angled, keep closing the distance, continue to chip away. I'm not going to get those big citadel shots against capital ships. You struggle to penetrate capital ship belt armor or dreadnought belt armor, but continue to push here. Get this ship out of the game, and then B cap is probably free for me to go ahead and cap again. And maintaining map control is such a huge thing here, so it seems fitting that a class of capital ships that was also often used in scouting groups, was going to be a kill for me. Sad. That a ship that was used in scouting groups and as the sort of pointy spear of the fleets. It's pretty cool that their playstyle in World of Warships actually works that way. Wargaming has introduced some ship concepts over the last couple of years. Not necessarily sure they've worked very well. Carriers are obviously sort of infamous for the reworks and the way they've been implemented and the way the community feels about them. It just hasn't ever quite clicked in a way that everyone fully agrees with. Submarines, I think, are going to be basically the same thing. I don't think battlecruisers are going to be at all, though. This feels fantastic. I love the way they've implemented it. If you sail broadside to broadside with the dreadnought, you're going to get smashed, and you're not going to be able to harm them in the same way. However, you can run from them. You can move yourself around the map. You can exert map control. You can flank. You can smack cruisers and destroyers. You just have a different playstyle than a dreadnought, and it feels fantastic. It feels like they nailed what a battlecruiser should be. And as long as you don't try to play it as if it's a dreadnought battleship, if you play it as if it's a battlecruiser, taking advantage of the speed, taking advantage of the low concealment, and it's really important, I think, they keep the low concealment. The low concealment is what makes it feel different. If it's just fast, then it's just a fast battleship, and we have those already in the game. It doesn't feel very different. But being fast plus the low concealment, it just feels fantastic, and it feels very different than playing anything else that's in the game right now. and I really, really enjoyed it. So here I am. I was able to remember that I solo capped the A cap already, right? But just a couple minutes later, I'm now solo capping the B cap by pushing around. And as soon as I cap this, I'm going to be able to flank the entire group that was at A. So I'm going to take the cap in front of them. I'm going to leave. I'm going to take the cap on their flank, and then I'm going to come around behind them and be attacking them from the rear. And it's this mobility, this flexibility. Okay, so the guns aren't as punchy as something like a Kaiser. I don't need them to be. I wanted to have something a little different, something that feels like playing what a battlecruiser was in real life. And I honestly think they've just nailed it with this ship. I don't know what the rest of the line's going to be like. I haven't had a chance to play the rest of the line. Hopefully it plays somewhat similar to this, because this feels fantastic. Maneuvers like what I just pulled off in this game, they just feel great. It feels rewarding. That's solo cap number 2, by the way. We are carrying this team in terms of capping. It's fantastic. I'm now going to exit through the backside of the cap, and I'm going to continue to flank the group that I originally stalled out and beat to the A cap to begin with. This is the way that you take it. You improve your guns. So the dispersion isn't necessarily a huge factor. I don't want to focus on that of like, oh, German guns don't shoot straight. They're battlecruiser guns. They just don't have the same oomph. They shouldn't have the same oomph. They don't, in real life, they didn't weigh as much, for example, right? I mean, they were lighter guns and lighter mounts than you would have on a dreadnought. You're not going to be punishing battleships the same way that you would in a dreadnought, but you have this speed, you have this mobility, and you have to take advantage of the speed and mobility to give yourself easy shots. So sort of like bow in, bow tanking, and this is a disaster. You're not going to be very effective with it, but using this mobility like this to get myself easier shots, to get myself broadsides to shoot at, that's super, super effective, and it feels very, very rewarding in general in terms of playstyle. I think the feedback cycle here works really well. It makes you feel like you're playing a battlecruiser. So this poor cruiser here, he's been sailing around in the back. I don't think he was expecting to have a capital ship pop up behind him. It's unfortunate. There's not much you're going to do here now. Is he going to charge forward towards the dreadnoughts, or get wrecked by the battlecruiser that's now steaming behind him, that's probably just the same speed or even faster than he is? It's great. I really enjoy it. This puts a smile on my face. It's putting a smile on my face recording commentary for it at the moment in time. And this guy's dead now, unfortunately for him. That's 2 kills. We're up to 45,000 damage. Not huge damage numbers. I did have some massive damage number games in this ship generally, and sort of losses where you're kiting for a long period of time. And I did average over 60,000 damage in a tier 4 capital ship, which is huge. But to be fair, I kind of average large damage numbers in most tier 4 capital ships if you know what you're doing. Like if I played Kaiser for 10 games, I imagine that the damage numbers would be pretty equivalent, or Ryan or something like that. Here though, I'm trying to shoot an enemy capital ship, and it's just, you're gonna see, it's not as effective. Like, my guns just don't chunk him the same way that I would if I was in an actual true dreadnought. So what you have to do, and this is something that I kind of probably knew, but also learned over a bit of time playing this ship, is to close the distance. So either run away from capital ships. If you're going to be fighting 2 or 3 multiple groups of ships, there's no reason to push in and get yourself obliterated. If it's 1v1, you need to close the distance. You need to be able to have your guns penetrate to the max of their ability. So closing the distance. This ship has excellent secondaries. Well, all the German battlecruisers are going to have excellent secondaries. Use your speed, use your concealment to be able to get close, and then use your speed to close the distance aggressively from that point, and allow your guns to try to have an opportunity to work. This guy's shooting HE at me, so it's a little less concern for me angling back. And at closer ranges, you start getting these consistent penetrations. The Kawachi from earlier in the game as well, at closer range that I was shooting him at, I was able to get consistent penetrations in the upper belt. It's very difficult to pin the actual armor belt of similar tier dreadnoughts, though, and to receive those sort of citadels. It's just not something that I had 1 or 2 citadels against battleships. Generally, was going to be large penetrations in the upper belt. You can see where I'm aiming here. The carriers finally are paying attention and dropping me. The hilarious thing is you can see how far behind these torpedoes are. Most carrier players at tier 4 see a battleship, they figure it's got battleship, right, dreadnought speed, something like that, and they drop on you as if you were a dreadnought doing 20 knots. In reality, you're doing closer to 30 knots. I did not have a lot of successful torpedo jumps against me, partly for that reason. Now, I think long-term, as people get used to the line, especially when the line first comes out and everybody's playing these ships at the same time, the carrier players are going to quickly adjust and they will be much more effective. Your AA isn't good. It's not like you're shooting down a bunch of planes. It's just the high speed was sort of fooling people when I was playing it during this sort of testing period here to create content for the video. I don't know if that's realistic. Obviously, more speed is better than none because it allows you to dodge torpedoes a little bit more effectively. It allows you to at least make things a bit more difficult for the carrier player or to adjust your positioning. But this isn't going to be some kind of like anti-air monster. You're a tier 4 capital ship. If carriers, especially in 2 carrier matches, which there's almost always 2 carriers in these tier 4 matches, they will focus you. And if 2 carriers are focusing you, you're going to die. Like, you have a limited number of damage control parties. Yes, you have a lot of speed. You can change positions on the map and hopefully fool them for, where they're looking at you, etc. But if they want you dead and they consistently fly planes at you, if it's 2 Langleys or something like that, you're gonna sink. That's just how it is, and that's the reality of tier 4 at the moment. So 62,000 damage. That's a good game. This is pretty average game for being Moltke. I didn't cherry pick like the highest damage game. I broke 100k in one of the games in Moltke. This is a pretty average game, and I think showing the flexibility, the speed, the ability, the concealment, the ability to change position on the map, the ability to flank, all of these things make this a really enjoyable experience. And like I said, I hope the lines going forward play like this, because I'm sure there's going to be a Royal Navy Battlecruiser line coming. There has to be. I'm sure that we're probably going to see a U.S. Battlecruiser line. There'll be a series of designs and some paper ships and whatever else like that, and hopefully we see like a Battlecruiser class. My one concern with it right now is going to be that your matchmaking is going to be matching you against battleships. So if you're a tier 10 battlecruiser, you're going to get matched up against maybe a Yamato on the other side. So I want to make sure that the battle influence is the same across the board. That'll be something to look at as we get higher tier ships. But overall, first impression, fantastic. I love this. One of my favorite tier 4 ships that I've played in a long time. Really looking forward to the line, and I love the fact that these historically significant ships are being added to the game. So many paper ships. Great to see ships that actually fought at Jutland. Some of the most famous warships of the 20th century are being added to the game. If you guys liked this video, by the way, really help the channel if you guys liked the video. If you commented on ships you'd like to see me cover in the future, and if you guys subscribed if you're not subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all the support. It's been fantastic over the last years I've started this channel, and I look forward to making more videos like this for you in the future. Thank you.